All right, let's start with a really interesting thought. What if that one thing about you, the one you kind of wish you could change, is actually your greatest superpower? Today, we're going to dive into this amazing story about turning our biggest challenges into our biggest potential. It's all about how those things we see as flaws might just be our strengths hiding in plain sight.
No, really, take a second and think about that very question. It's right at the heart of this incredible story we're about to get into. It's a story about personal transformation that, honestly, it might just change the way you see yourself.
Okay, so let's meet our main character. She's this young girl who, from the get-go, just felt, well, fundamentally different from everybody else. It was like her world was operating on a completely different set of rules than everyone else's. So her whole vibe was just naturally happy-go-lucky. She was one of those genuinely cheerful people who could just bounce back from anything. Now, you'd think that's a gift, right? But it wasn't always seen that way. In fact, for a lot of people around her, it actually made them kind of jealous.
And this is where you could really see the difference. Let's say she had an argument with someone. For her, she'd wake up the next day and it was like a total clean slate. She had genuinely moved on. But her friends? Oh, they would hold on to that anger for days, just stewing in it. And for her, this was just baffling. Like, why would anyone choose to carry all that weight around?
So, this amazing quality she had, this ability to just let things go, it really didn't feel like a gift to her at all. It honestly felt more like a curse. In her world, it was this abnormal trait that made her stick out, and not in a good way.
But wait a minute, how could something so positive feel like such a heavy burden?
Well, it really all boiled down to one thing: social pressure. And, that just crushing feeling of being an outsider. And that was the core of her struggle. I mean, she'd look around at her peers and she'd see them all holding on to anger. And because she just couldn't do the same, she came to this conclusion that she must be the one who was broken. She really felt like she was just wired completely differently from everyone else. And this wasn't just in her head. It had real-world consequences. Get this, she would actively try to stay mad at people just so she could fit in, but she just couldn't. It was impossible for her. And this created this awful fear inside her. She started to believe that her inability to hold a grudge was basically a green light for other people to take advantage of her, thinking, oh, she won't care, she'll just forget about it anyway.
But then, something shifted. This is the turning point in the story. As she got a little older, she started to develop a new skill. And this wasn't just something that helped her cope. No, it completely reframed her entire understanding of this flaw she thought she had.
You can really break her journey down into three big stages. First, you have all that childhood confusion. Then, you move into adulthood, and this is where she unlocked the power of communication. And that one skill, that was the bridge. It led her to a totally new, profound understanding of herself and of other people too. And that right there was the key. She learned how to communicate. So instead of just, passively forgetting about a fight, she started actively resolving it right then and there. And all of a sudden, her inability to hold a grudge wasn't a weakness anymore. It was the perfect trait for just cutting straight to a resolution and moving on. And this is where the whole story just flips on its head. We're at the most powerful part of her journey now, the moment that her biggest challenge is finally revealed to be her greatest potential. She finally got it. She finally understood what letting go actually meant. It had nothing to do with being a pushover or letting people walk all over her. Nope. It was the ability to stay calm, to see a situation for what it really was, and to handle it smoothly, all without that heavy baggage of anger weighing her down. And then funny things started to happen. As her own perception of herself changed, the way other people saw her started to change too. They stopped seeing this naive little girl and started seeing, well, a rare kind of wisdom. And just like that, the shift in perception was complete. People finally realized, hey, she wasn't a fool you could take advantage of. She was actually a gem. Her ability to resolve conflict and just move forward, that was a rare and incredibly valuable gift. Okay, so what's the big lesson here for all of us? Her journey, going from feeling totally flawed to finding her strength, it holds this universal truth about how we see ourselves and about our own hidden potential.
She basically adopted this whole new mindset, and it was built on a few core ideas. Like number 1, everyone is different. Number 2, we all have our own way of seeing things. Number 3, there's no such thing as one person being right and the other being wrong. And maybe most importantly, a new day can always be a new start. This way of thinking didn't just change her life, it literally became her superpower.
I mean, just think about the power of that in our own lives, right? When you can actually address a conflict and then truly, genuinely move on, you create all this space for peace. You drop your defenses. You stop just reacting with anger. And maybe for the first time, you can actually hear what the other person is trying to say.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway from all of this. Our biggest challenges in life, they're hardly ever just random obstacles. Think of them more like signposts, pointing you directly toward your greatest untapped potential. That struggle that you feel, that's a signal. It's telling you that a really powerful part of who you are is just waiting to be embraced.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. What's that challenge in your life that's just waiting to become your potential? What's that thing that makes you feel different? That struggle you keep coming back to over and over? Because what if, just like the girl in our story, what if that very challenge isn't a lock on a door at all, but is actually the key to unlocking your greatest strength?